What do you want? Like, you just want to say like, hey everyone or something
Yeah,
like that? Okay.
yeah, like.
Hey everyone, I'm a big dude.
And I'm also a big dude.
And together we are
two big dudes.
And we're just two big dudes having a podcast, talking about what's ever on our mind, our past life, the future, things we want to banter on, just basically anything. Anything that brightens your day. You know, I'm from South Florida,
Or
born and
ruins your
raised
day.
basically. And I believe you are too, my dude, right?
I am, my dude. I am.
And, you know, a little bit about me. I'm an overweight white man. I'm a dude. And I enjoy being with my friend here making this podcast. I've grown up, went to public school, didn't go to homeschool, so I actually know I have communication skills. That's why I can start a podcast with you.
Exactly.
And basically just lived my life in South Florida and moved up here recently. How about you?
Well, my dude, I also grew up in South Florida. It feels like I'm meeting you for the first time.
I know, right?
I've only known you for, I don't know, how many years? How many years has it been? 06, right?
I was going to say.
I don't know. I was the kid with the Game Boy.
We're giving too much personal information to
yeah,
all
that's
of our
true.
listeners.
You know what?
All
Cut.
zero
Start
of our
over. No, I'm just
listeners.
kidding. All of our 0 listeners. Boy, it's going to be awkward a year from now. No one's going to be like, wow, still no one's listened to it. No. Grew up in South Florida. Yeah, man, just 15 minutes maybe from the beach. It started off as a pretty small place and just kind of grew to the point where it was like, hey, you are not rich enough to be here anymore. Get out.
So, that's basically how it is.
And that's how it is. So I moved up north to Central Florida. Not exactly up
you
north.
Don't give
up
too
north.
much information away. Anyone can steal our lives.
Exactly, man. Like, yeah. So yeah, and also went to public school. Therefore, a normal-ish human being.
You know what I remember about down South Florida living there was just the school program. I mean, like, I don't know if it was for you, but now living here, I'm so far away from every school. And back in the time, I would be able to walk to any school I went to. I rode my bike to elementary school, walked to middle school, walked to high school. It was like a small little safe haven we were in.
No, same here, dude. Like, I grew up across the street from, like, literally across the street from my elementary school.
Yeah.
My middle school was down that very same block. And then my high school was going left, out of my neighborhood, just a block or two away. Everything was nearby.
Yeah.
You know, I think the golden era was, you know, at our physical peak, back when we probably were two lean dudes.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I was literally a 2-minute drive from the gym. It was just right on Westview and
so
bam.
Close to it.
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of school, I remember all my field trips. And I remember, like, elementary school was, I think, to an aquarium. It's like NASA. And then later on, we went to Wanadu City. And for all of our listeners, you know, all 0 of us, if you're raised in Florida or at least live there, you know what Wanadu City is.
Oh, yeah.
And, like...
I still remember the commercials.
Oh, yeah. I remember it'd be like, bring your kid here. They can learn how to get a job, have a future, and then parents can drink. It's like, what kind of place was this? Like, who thought that letting kids have real jobs would be like a fun place? Because these weren't like some of them were fun jobs. But I remember when I went there, I was a car salesman. Like,
wow.
What kid goes to Wanadu City is like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to be, you know, the astronaut, the paleontologist, a cop. I'm trying to think of the other options, but I was a car salesman. And they were literally teaching us of like, you know, we're going to have kids come in wanting to buy a car and need to upsell them. And it's like, they were teaching me that at a young age.
Are you serious?
And this was supposed to be like a theme park style of thing. I can't imagine what went into the idea behind it. I mean, even the whole having a bar for the adults. Like, can you believe that?
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's a world where kids go be the adults and the adults go to be kids. But instead of like, you know, a playpen and, you know, Happy Meals, they get alcohol.
I mean, can you just imagine?
I'd actually like to go there now.
I wonder if it's still open.
No, it's shut down.
Yeah. I mean, I assume so. Can you imagine the newest position is just like, hey, you can learn to be a bartender and you're serving your mom or your dad, and he's like, hey, mom, here's your mimosa. And who's that? Dude, I can only imagine. I remember when I went there.
It'd be really awkward when she slips you a roofie to put in that guy's drink.
I mean, like, I just remember when I went there, we all like chose out of a raffle of some sort of like what our jobs were, and like my best friend got to be a firefighter.
That's pretty cool.
The cool thing about it was, so Wanadu City was like this big factory. So when you go in, there's no like, you know, sky. It's an enclosed place, but they pretend like it's an open city. So when you walk in, you have an open road in a factory.
This is sounding
Like a
more and
warehouse
more
center.
like a Hunger Games thing.
Yeah, it was
like
kind of crazy.
Raffle, no sky, like, okay.
But the coolest thing was, if you were the firefighter, there'd be this huge wall of like a basic New York in the Bronx building, like brick wall, with there'd be a window on top and a door on the bottom, and the window would display like a fake fire from a screen. But you would get to have a real hose, maybe not like a one that's gonna blow a kid away when he turns it on, but you would get like a real hose, and when you extended it, it shot water to the window, and you would put it out. And of course, like as a kid, you'd have like the adult supervising you, and you get to dress up as a firefighter. It was like the coolest thing. Can you imagine? Here I am looking at this kid do it, and all I am is saying like, "Excuse me, sir, can I buy this car?" That's what I had to go with. That stunk, man. That stunk bad.
Yeah, you had to sell an upgrade on the fire engine, I'm sure.
I don't know. I mean, can you imagine like what would it be like? You think if you got to be like in a doctor's position?
You know, that's a great question, man. I was poor, so I never got to go to Wanatu City. Not on a field trip, but I've always wanted to go. Like, specifically to go and start trouble. Because I was a goody two-shoes. I never really got into too much trouble, so I fantasized about doing that. Like, my schoolmates would tell me, you know, oh yeah, if you did like this, like, they'd have random rules. Like, if you were wearing a white shirt, if you were chewing gum, like, the police would target you.
What?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, and you could get arrested. But, like, you could obviously easily escape jail. So, I guess being, like, El Chapo was apparently a job you could do if you could break out of jail that easily. But I've always wanted to go. You know, I always, like, wanted to find, like, you know, just to go and do stuff there. You mentioned being a doctor.
Right.
Like, okay, so with this firefighter thing, like, did they actually use like real water? Obviously, they didn't use real fire.
I remember, I mean, I was a kid, so maybe they were using bubbles, and to me, like I put it in my mind like that it's water.
Oh.
You know how like kids fantasize things or over fantasize things.
Yeah.
But what I remember was like they were spraying real water. I remember like there was a zone where you couldn't walk to because it's all the time it's wet since like every day this building's going on fire and every day a kid's putting it out. So I believe it was real water.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's.
I mean, I will say that I mean, this is a kid's point of view, right? I mean, maybe if I went in as an adult, I would be like, wow, this looks really stupid.
Yeah.
But from a kid's point of view, like every part you were in, if you were like part of the NASA program, the firefighting, the police, I mean, they even had a grocery store that you could sell groceries as a customer or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah,
Let
really
me tell
lame
you,
one.
these kids are gonna go to school, like go to summer and work that job in real life. Like that's the most depressing thing.
But I will say, at least for me as a kid, the props looked so real.
Yeah.
Like when I went to the grocery store, that's all I thought about was like, I'm in a grocery store, not in Wanadu City. Oh,
Dang.
and then you would get the, like, it would be like Monopoly money.
Oh, okay.
It'd be Wanadu City money, like WDC. And you could then buy anything you want. And it'd be like a Chuck E. Cheese kind of thing, like Nerf guns or whatever the case was.
You see, dude, I would have loved to go there and establish a black market, like sell things that shouldn't be there. Just like, yeah, okay, well, all right, no. So this whole thing just sounds like mega extreme.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
just mega extreme. Imagine kids being a firefighter under the massive pressure they would have to go through. Like,
oh, yeah.
Imagine this. It's not just putting out a fire. It's like you got to put out a fire, and then you got to rescue people inside the building. Like, can you imagine? Like, can you imagine this little kid Timmy's just like he gets assigned. He's a firefighter, and they're like, "All right, Timmy. Come, we're going to show you the ropes. We're going to put out this fire here. Timmy, what's that? What's that? Am I doing a good job? Am I holding it right?" I hear screaming. You got to go in there and save the kids in the building. But I didn't get training for this. I didn't get training. You're in the trenches now, son. Get in there. Save him. Pull him out of the building limb by limb if you have to. Oh, my God. So the guy wrestles the hose from him and starts hosing the fire. Oh, Timmy, where'd you go? I got him. Oh, he's not breathing. What do I do? Mouth to mouth, Timmy. Give him CPR right now, Timmy. Okay. Don't forget the chest compressions, Timmy. Go. Remember, 100 beats per minute. Sing the song, Timmy. 100 beats per minute. You're losing him, Timmy. You're losing him. Oh, my God. They hook him up to the AKG machine. Flatline. Timmy's over there bawling his eyes out. The lieutenant's just, don't worry, son. Even the best of us lose a couple sometimes. They go tell those parents their kid is dead.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I remember. I'm trying to think because I remember I went there. You didn't get to go, right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, because you were poor. I mean, I was poor too, but my parents could afford a $100 field trip. I mean, it's elementary school. For Pete's sake.
$100?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's a steal or anyway.
I don't know. I just remember that when I was there, I didn't get the dream job I got. Everyone else having the time of their life, and everyone's like in their zone. I can't remember. There was like police officer position once. And I always wanted to get there because, I mean, what if they gave you a toy gun or real gun?
Oh, yeah.
But like just like your little Timmy story, I'm just imagining this little Timmy skit. And of course, for all of our listeners out there, this is going to be a thing we keep going on where you're going to get to know who Timmy is, know his friends, and probably know everyone else in his life. But just imagine this, right? So like Timmy is going into Wonder City, and teacher's like, all right, guys, we're going to get you all, everyone's going to have a job to have in the future. And if it's something you like, maybe you do in the future. All right, Timmy, go ahead and pick from the hat. And Timmy gets cop. You know, really cool job. Everyone's looking at Timmy like he's a cool kid. So Timmy walks over to the cop place, and you see it looks like a sheriff, right? And then the guy comes out and he's like, "Howdy, this is Deputy Sheriff Smith here. How you been doing?" And Timmy's like, "Hi, how you doing? I'm Timmy. I'm just here to Wonder City." He's like, "Oh yeah, the WCPD, the WDCPD, Wonder City Police Department. We are the best of the best. We're gonna train you to be the best cop, Timmy. The best cop you can be. Can you do that for me, Timmy?" "Oh yeah, I think so. I think that'd be a great thing. You know, Timmy." Right now, and he like puts a badge on him. You know, maybe he pushes it a little too hard. Ow! And like pins him with it. And he's like, "You know, Timmy, right now you're a deputy, but you could be a captain soon. Maybe you'll be a captain one day. You want to be a captain, Timmy?" Oh, sure, that sounds pretty good. You know what, Timmy? But to be a captain, you got to land a big score. And to get a big score, you got to put a real bad guy away. You know, I've been here many years, and I know that guy." And he's like pointing to one of Timmy's classmates in like the grocery store or whatever. And Timmy's like, "That's Billy." "Oh, yeah. Oh, I know Billy. Yeah." And he's like licking his lip or licking his finger, going through some pages. "Oh, yeah, Billy, drug addict. Man, if you put him away, Timmy, you could be a captain." And Timmy's just like, "I don't know what drugs are." "Oh, don't worry. You know, you can see the Deputy Smith pull out this bag of like white powder. And Timmy's like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh, this is Coke." "Like Coca-Cola?" Yeah, Timmy, just like Coca-Cola. How about you do this for me? How about you grab this bag and go put it in Billy's backpack?
Wow.
And then, least expected, you'll bag him. And then you know what, Timmy? You'll be Captain Timmy. How does that sound? I guess. And Mr. Smith is like, "All right, Timmy, now's your day." He's like rubbing the back of his shoulders. "Now go get that dirt bag." He like goes down to get this, goes into his bag. You're gonna hear like a zip, opens it, and as he's about to put the bag of white powder in there, I don't know, you're gonna be, "Hands up, dirtbag!" "Timmy, what are you doing, Timmy? You were my partner for years, Timmy."
Oh my gosh.
"I don't know what you're talking, Mr. Smith." "Don't say that. You were my partner, Timmy. I can't believe you let me down. Oh my gosh, guys." Take him away. These two other cops grab Timmy aggressively, handcuff him. The teacher looks astounded at what's going on. Timmy is thrown in the car. And the whole time you see, the Deputy Smith has his hands over his face as if he's crying. And as Timmy goes away, you just hear him crying in the background. And then the camera pans back to Mr. Smith's face, and as he pulls his hand away, you see a smile, and he's like, "Timmy, it's not Deputy Smith. It's Captain Smith."
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then Timmy goes to jail, and then when they throw in the cell right there, he closes the door, and he turns around to see his cellmate, and it's Mr. Smith, but it's just a different costume. "What brings you in here?"
Oh my god.
Dude, it was nuts. I mean, Wonder City was just a sight to behold. If you were in Florida and you got to enjoy that, kudos to you. That place was nuts.
I think it was also just a South Florida thing. Like,
was it really?
I think so, man. Like, talking to some of the folks up here, they had no idea what Wanadu City is.
I mean, I guess it's a good, like cash cow, I guess, for South Floridians because we're all idiots. But
I mean, yeah, like it was in the Sawgrass Mall, wasn't it?
I mean, I remember mine just being next to LA Fitness, and it was like in a warehouse of its own. I believe it turned into like El Dorado or something like that. A furniture store.
I bet, yeah.
I mean, like, where did you go as a field trip as a kid?
You know what? I actually jotted some notes about field trips. First of all, field trips were like, that was where it was at, man. Like,
oh yeah.
Did you get like one a quarter or something like that, or?
I definitely didn't get it one a quarter. I think I got one a year, maybe if that. Like, I remember getting one in 5th grade, one at the end of middle school, and maybe like one in high school, and then of course like the end of high school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because like elementary school, like what was the name of this place? Safety something, safety school, safety town, safety town. You ever?
No, I've never heard of that. Sounds awful.
Yeah, no, it's the worst thing in the world. It like teaches you how to cross the street and like stop at stop signs. It's like
There's no way.
I kid you not, and I have only vague memories, and I don't even think it was my field trip. I think it was my sister's field trip. I was there as a baby, like my mom and my dad brought me. So I've got super vague memories, but like yeah, elementary school, you got to do kind of cool stuff, like a lot of South Florida centric things. Airboat. Did you ever go on an airboat?
Oh yeah, I went on an
Swamp?
airboat. Yeah, over in what was that? The Sawgrass.
Everglades.
There we go. The Everglades.
Yeah, the Everglades. Yeah. I remember doing that as a field trip.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Did you get to eat gator when you were doing it?
No.
There was not like a. I remember there was like a real like a random woman that she'd have a tray and she's like, "Try some gator." It was probably one they just ran over or something like that.
Probably, man. Confessions of a born and raised Florida man here. I didn't have gator and like ever until maybe a year or two ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, up here.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I know. It's just
Tastes like chicken.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It kind of does.
I mean, it's good. I mean, getting a gator bite. I mean, for anyone going out there in a restaurant and there's gator bites, you should totally get it. They're super good.
Oh yeah. Funny enough, I was watching a Stale Cracker video of him preparing.
That's money, dude.
That's money, dude. Hey, Stale Cracker, you want to be on a podcast?
Number one listener.
We could be three big dudes that one day. But something that he talks about is like cutting away the fat. Is apparently because I've heard it's really greasy.
Oh yeah.
So it makes perfect sense that when like he was talking about cutting like preparing this gator, cutting out the fat and everything. Anyway, I'm like going way off of here. It's really funny because there's one field trip that really stood out to me. See, when I was a kid, like, and they started teaching us about civil rights and stuff, Black History Month when that was in February. I don't know if it still is.
I didn't pass school, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, shout out to all those that graduated high school. But yeah, when I learned about like civil rights and all that stuff, to me it was just like, it was really just appalling. Coming from a background where we're taught to be loving and peaceful. Like,
oh yeah.
It was just to me absurd, and I had friends that were black too, so I was like trying to actively imagine living in a world like that. So whenever Black History Month came around, like I genuinely enjoyed what I was listening to because it was like, wow, this was really important.
Right.
So middle school came around, and in the Center for the Performing Arts, in the town I grew up in, they had, I kid you not, I really think it was like a black empowerment seminar.
Stop.
And it was a field trip.
Stop.
I signed up for it. And my teacher, who's as lily white as all gets, she looks at me and she's like, dude, you really want to go to this?
No way.
I was dead serious. I'm like, yeah. I don't know if she thought I was like fooling or something, but like my best friend in school at the time, he was black. I had a lot of friends that were black, and to me it was like, hey, this is something that I found very interesting.
Yeah.
So I can remember like this Baptist preacher sounding guy, like just, I don't remember a word of what he said until he started singing We Shall Overcome.
Whoa.
Which I know is an actual song thanks to this just random memory I've got being there. That was
middle school? Like what, 6, 7, 8?
Middle school. I think it was 8th grade. It was 8th grade.
Wow. So you were like closer to adult in quotation marks.
Yeah, kind of. But, it was, I don't remember much of it, obviously, because I was just a stupid kid at the time, but, some about but field trips, they gave you something to look forward to. You got to miss half of the school day. Like, you would kind of be on a little bit of a looser leash.
Oh, yeah. I remember, too, when there was times I didn't get to go on a field trip. Like you said, we grew up poor. And when all the kids would come back the next day. Two poor dudes. You would come back the next day to class, and you were just like, I just had a day off school kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Or actually, no, you did get a day off school. You would still have to go in if you didn't go to the field trip.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what?
Oh, yeah, and they make you do work.
Slap in the face, Hey, for being poor, you get to do more work.
Yeah. And on top of that, it was work that really meant nothing. Like, like fun little worksheets or whatever. Like, shut up and put on a movie.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even get a grade for this. Why am I going to do this?
It was so annoying.
King. Roll that little TV carton here and put on Lion King on VHS.
Oh my goodness,
VHS, dog.
But yeah, I remember I would go to class, and the next day everyone would be talking about how amazing field trip is, and I would be left out. So if you're one of those parents who can't afford to send your kid to a field trip, you have 2 kidneys. You have many organs that you can donate so your kids can go. That's the moral of the story. But I do remember another field trip I went on was to NASA. Have you ever gone to NASA?
Are you talking about the place like up? It's like
I want to say it's in
Titusville?
Florida.
Yeah, because there's
It's not like the NASA. It's not like places you're gonna get. They're not gonna shoot you on a rocket ship.
dude, it might be because like they have a spaceport here, Cape Canaveral. I don't know.
You just imagine little Timmy. I wonder where this goes. It's like blown through the
Little
space.
Timmy goes to space on the Endeavor. Little Timmy never made it back.
You see an adult there. There's only one airbag, Timmy, and I'm using it. But like I do remember
Captain Smith.
NASA was a super cool place. It felt like a miniature theme park because you would have like you'd have a place where you can watch a movie about space, about like first person on Mars, on the moon. Arnold Armstrong, Neil Armstrong,
Buzz
Armstrong.
Lightyear.
That's it. Buzz
Hey,
Lightyear.
you went on the field trip. You should remember that.
I do. I mean, I watched Toy Story. That's a historical document.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I also remember like the store. And when I was a kid, like you said, poor. Everyone else had a lot of money. And I remember my one friend who also was poor. And again, okay, context. I'm about 9 years old, maybe 10, 11. At least I think I am in elementary school. I think that's around the average time, the time gap. And there would be my friend there, and he had $10. Like a $10 bill is a $10 bill. It doesn't look like a lot.
Oh,
But
when
he
you were
would-
a kid, that's a lot of money.
Oh, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But then he went to the cash register and he's like, "Can I get 10 singles?" And so the cashier was like, "Yeah, it takes a 10, give him 10 singles." And he folded it in half. And he acted like he had $100. And I believed him. I would look at him and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so rich." And of course, like, he buys a toy. Well, I remember my mom gave me $20.
Oh,
So what do you think I
yo.
did? I went to go get 20 singles, dude. And I remember folding it up, and I don't think I spent a single dollar because I just felt so rich having 20 singles folded in half and just like fanning myself with it. And that was like the coolest experience. I'm next to a spaceship, but here I am with 20 singles.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's way cooler. And then I also remember going to the aquarium. You ever go to the aquarium?
Not on a part of a field trip, but
Where
yeah.
did you go? You went to, what did you say, safe something?
It was Safety City, Safety Zone, I think it was what it's called.
That's insane. I mean, did you go anywhere cool? Like Universal, Busch Gardens?
No, God, no. Poor, remember?
There's no way.
Okay, no, I did that stuff like with my family. Like I went to SeaWorld, I went to Miami Seaquarium,
okay.
but like for a field trip, nah, not really. Plus, growing up with a Spanish mom, like everyone was out to rape you, everyone was out to kill you, everyone was out to kidnap you. Like, she had zero trust in like putting as a child my safety in the hands of others. Which like I understand that, I get it.
I mean, my mom was the complete opposite. She just wanted to send me away from home as long as possible. I mean, I remember you would sleep over and you'd be shocked that we get to walk away from home and go to Target or something like that.
Oh, yeah. When we first started hanging out, I was like, you can do this? We're never going to my house.
No, I just also, what was so cool about field trips was the bus ride. I mean, like,
Yes.
yeah, the bus ride was the coolest thing. If you had a Game Boy, if you had like a smartphone, I think at the time in elementary there wasn't iPhones.
No, dude. Those came out in 07.
What was I,
Like-
middle school by that time?
I think so. I was like a
I
freshman
had to be
in
middle
high
school, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember when the first iPhone came out and we went on a field trip and Angry Birds was the game.
Oh, dude.
Oh, if you had that, you were automatically the most popular kid in school. It doesn't matter who you are, how many zits you had, or whatever. You were the most popular kid because you had Angry Birds. But like a field trip was, like you said, it was the best part about school at a younger age. I mean, high school, I think it didn't matter.
I legit don't remember field trips in high school at
I
all.
remember I went freshman year. I went to Universal Studios. I can't believe nobody else did.
No, that's like an end of the year thing though. Like that's different. I don't think that qualifies as like a field trip. But there was always something at the end of the year. I do remember that.
8th grade, I know we also went to Universal.
I think 8th grade also had something like that.
Yeah, I went to 8th grade. I also remember going freshman year. I mean, maybe I'm just going crazy. But I remember 8th grade was the first time I went to Universal as a field trip. And if you went on a field trip before then, you'd always have like a chaperone with you. Like there'd always be like a teacher, and there'd always be like, stay in the line, hold hands, etc. But in middle school and 8th grade, when you would go on a field trip, they would just let you go. So you would like, I mean,
That's insane.
again, I was not popular and was poor, so I just went with like the 2 or 3 friends I had and went on field trip. I mean, I went on roller coasters while every other person was just making out around the corner, and then, like trying to get caught for it.
Nice.
I mean, there was just so many things that happened back in the time when we were going on field trips. But there was nothing else for you? Like, you just got to stay home all the time?
Well, I mean, I'll say this, dude. Like, for the field trips that I did go on, like, the bus ride was a lot of fun, you know. And like I said, you had that little bit of a looser leash, so I was like, okay, my first MP3 player, I think I got it, FYE.
Oh, yeah, I
or
remember
Radio
that.
Shack or something.
For your
It's this
entertainment.
small little black thing with like it had like the first like LCD screen. Like think about the iPod before it had like the color screen. Or
I mean,
think of like the regular Game Boy, like the very first
Oh,
Game Boy.
yeah.
It had that kind of screen on it.
Oh, wow.
And like, I mean, the earphones that it came with, like they jutted out. Like if they were green, it would have looked like Shrek ears. But like on this car ride, on this bus ride, I'm like, you know, and I'm super excited, man, because like at that point I had been like using LimeWire to download
Oh, who didn't?
legally download music. It was file sharing. Okay, it was totally illegal.
Fine by me.
But it wasn't legal. But it was totally legal back then. You know, I was like super excited. Like I got my music on the go because I grew up with a CD player, so I would download these things, burn them on CDs. But now I got this on an MP3 player.
CD players sucked, dude. You took 2 steps and it was like.
Oh yeah, you had to get the ones that had like the stabilizer in them or something
I didn't
like
even know
that.
they made those.
I mean, I don't know. I was super careful with my stuff, but anyway, like I had my hoodie up, and you know, keep in mind, like there's maybe one weekend out of the year in South Florida that it gets cold, and this was definitely not one of those times. So I'm trying to be slick with
Right.
having the one pod in my ear, listening to like Toxicity by System of a Down. And I'm just like, this is so cool. Like I'm totally listening to my music while I'm not supposed to. And then like my language arts teacher, I guess, was sitting a row or two behind me or whatever. And you know, she like gets my attention. And she asks me, like, oh, do you know what the time is? And I'm like, no, I don't have the time. She's like, oh, I was hoping that little device of yours had the time.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, like, she got me. And I'm just like, okay, you found me out. I'm not in trouble. But also now listening to the MP3 player is a lot less fun because I know.
Oh, yeah. For my iPod days, I remember all you guys had iPod Touches. And
Oh, yeah.
I was always stuck with like the iPod Nano because my mom would never let me get an iPod Touch. It was way too expensive. But you
yeah.
found yours, right?
I did. I was about to say, like, I have it in a drawer over there. It doesn't work now. I mean, it's still.
Oh, it doesn't work anymore?
Okay, no. See, here's the thing. It does and it doesn't. Like that's why I put my music library on my iPad because it will like shut down. I have to put it like on the charger for like a literal day or two.
Oh yeah, it lasts
before
like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and then when it turns on, it just shuts right off. So I'm like, yeah. But I found it.
Dude, speaking of embarrassing moments in the class, I remember it was 4th grade. There's 2. In 4th grade, we had like music class. At least it was a music class. Like we all would get like, you know, the flute or something like that. Mm-hmm. And nobody else got a guitar. Or that one special girl got to go on the piano because her mom paid extra lessons for her, so she got to show it off. Whatever. So I remember we're just waiting in line for class to start. And at the school I went, you would go to the door and then like wait outside of it. Because you just wait for the teacher to be ready for your class. So everyone sat down. And I've always been chubby, even at a younger age. So I remember like I saw people I thought were cool. And I was like, maybe I could shit with them and talk to them. And I remember like, hey, is that seat available? And they're like, yeah, no problem. They didn't look at me anything weird. I sat down, and the moment I bent my knees 90 degrees, and I swear to you, I went from like white to blood red. And they would all look at me like, did you fart? And my initial reaction was, no. Like, I don't know how stupid I was. Like, they were right next to me. I probably, like, blew the girl's hair up as I farted. And here I am lying as if, like, I'm going to get away with it. God, I was so stupid back in the time.
Oh, man. I have a music story class for you, too.
Oh, tell me.
Actually, like, it was maybe 2nd or 3rd grade. We had, like, a music class. It was just, like, they would play songs and teach you to sing, you know, all these stupid little, you know, little jingles and this and that. When they had us all singing Jingle Bells, like I was in the crowds just singing Jingle Bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg, the Batmobile lost a wheel, and the Joker got away. And my music teacher, she just like she's not looking at me. I just hear her stop the music. Ooh. Excuse me, who's singing Batman Smells? I did not put my hand up.
Oh no,
I did not put my hand up. But there was this girl in the class that I was friends with. She just has the most sheepish look on her face. She puts her hands up.
Snitch.
And she's far away. She was singing it too.
Oh!
Yeah. So
No way.
I just was like, my hand stayed down. My hand stayed down
dude.
for sure. But
I'm not going down with you. I don't know you.
I mean, kudos to her. She fessed up to it, but she didn't get in trouble or anything like that. But it was just funny that like.
You know what else is crazy about school? I remember watching like Disney movies. I didn't grow up with cable, but I would watch Disney movies.
Oh,
My mom would rent them from
sorry
Blockbuster. Yeah, whatever. And so,
imagine being that poor. I was poor, but not cable. God.
no cable, dude. PBS and My 33. Shout out to all my listeners who had that moment. But I also remember watching Disney shows, or I should say Disney movies. But I'm talking about like the real life Disney movies, or like even the Goofy movie, where there was like bullying in quotation marks. Since it's a podcast, I can't see what I'm doing.
Oh yeah.
And like bullying was so exaggerated because I wasn't that popular, if popular at all. But I don't remember ever someone being bullied as bad as they were. I mean, I know I would bully kids, but not that bad.
That surprises no one.
Yeah, no, like the worst thing I ever got in trouble for was I remember, I want to say it was my sister who like paid this joke on me of like, oh, what bird hurts the worst? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, peacock, and like hit me in the nuts. So I was, in pain, hated her for it. And then next thing you know, I'm next to this cooler guy. I remember his name too, Jack. And he was like, hey, so you want to play some catch outside? I go during recess. I was like, yeah. Also, do you know what the most painful bird is? And he's like, no, what? Peacock! And I remember kicking him in the nuts. He's crying his eyes out. Crying. And my initial reaction is to run. So as I'm like running away from this scene of murder, this teacher is like, oh my God, Jack, are you okay? And I'm now like playing basketball with like Timmy over here. And this kid's crying his eyes out, and I just see his finger pointing right at me. And as a kid, if you're an adult and who's been to that moment, as a kid, you know how that feels. And that's awful. Like, I remember my heart stopped, the world stopped, and like, I would look back at Timmy, Timmy's like, what's wrong? As I just saw my light flashing before my eyes. And I remember like the teacher caught him up to me and says like, did you hit Jack? And I was way too scared to lie. So I was like, yeah, I hit him. It was a joke, et cetera, et cetera. And then she called my mom.
Oh, jeez.
And that was like the worst experience ever. And then my mom would yell at my sister for telling me that joke. And yeah, that's a joke I got to do again now. As an adult, I mean, that's great.
Yeah, imagine going to school the next day. Hey, Jack, what's the capital of Thailand? What? Bangkok.
He's not having kids. I'm trying to think of anything else happened. Oh, tell me.
I got in trouble like that once. And funny enough, it was something that my mom taught me. You remember wasps?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those were great. Like, you fold up, for anybody who doesn't know, you fold up a little sheet of paper, like a little square, right?
Yeah, you just fold up over and over and over. It was like, it's like how you, oh no, I lie actually. I was going to tell you how it makes a paper football, but it's not the same.
No. Yeah, but it's just like a check or like a greater than or less than sign, and you had a rubber band and you'd flick at people. And my mom, of all people, is the one who taught me it.
Are you
like,
serious?
Oh yeah, like I think when I was like, she was helping me with my homework, and she just kind of went off on a tangent about like how she used to do that in school. So of course, her words to me were, "Do not take this to school."
Okay.
And all I heard was, "I'm taking this to school."
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So like, I got my bro. I got him to do it too.
You mean your dude?
My dude, bro. My dude.
My dude.
And so of course I brought it to school and I showed all my friends and I was wasping them and they'd be making wasps. And if you had a plastic bag full of wasps, like,
I made a ton of that.
Oh yeah. Dude, there was this one time where I made this nasty, like a huge one. Like, I don't know, it was like maybe the size of my fingers here.
Oh wow, that's huge. Did it even hurt though?
No, because it didn't go far at all.
Yeah.
But like, I was in the lunchroom. Was that?
I didn't understand physics back at the time.
Oh yeah, no, I know. It's just all I know is like, this is big. Like, I am going to be the king of the classroom. Like, no one can mess with me. So at lunch, I decided to like test this thing out and show my friends, like, yo, check this, the bazooka wasp. And I hit my milk carton at point blank that I had kind of already started drinking, but it just explodes. I don't see where it goes. It just launches into the air. You can see some kids like, getting splattered by some milk. So my hands just go right under the table. And I'm just like, and then the lunch lady's looking around and it's just, who threw that? Who threw that milk?
Stop.
My face is so red. I'm like, I really hope she doesn't see me. But one of my friends ratted me out and got me in trouble. Like, he got in trouble with the wasp. But he was just like, that dude, he showed me this. So I got in trouble.
Stop.
And they tried to suspend us or give us referrals is what it was.
No way.
A referral. And my mom loses her, like, she loses her cool. She calls the school and, like, her, like, full Spanish mom just, like, threatening to take it up with, the school board. Like, you're gonna, like, basically, like, they had nothing on me.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely nothing on me. And they were gonna try to just, like, give me a slap on the wrist with the detention, but it was just, like, mom was like, like, it ain't going down that way. Wow. So I got off scot-free, and all I know is, like, I still, to this day, hold that over my friend's head, and he's just, obviously, like, more to, like, just, he hates when I bring it up. And just like...
Oh, I mean, he's a snitch.
He's a snitch, yeah.
He's always going to be a snitch. You'll never get that away from him.
Yeah, I should have put, like, a bag over his head and just, like, lined him up like on a firing squad and just have all my friends with our wasps. Just, like, any last words, and he's just there. Bite me. Fire!
Speaking of getting caught, I remember in middle school, and I'm not telling any of you kids to do this, but I would cheat on almost every test. Almost every test. And most teachers understand, like, they don't get paid well. They don't get paid enough to, like, be the best teacher ever. So even when your teacher caught you, cheating, most teachers would, like you said, give you a slap on the wrist or just fail you for that grade, etc. Well, I remember I was absent for a school one day, and it was on a test day. Wasn't planning on it. And my friend, when I came back, I asked him, like, how's the test? You need to give me some answers. And he's like, don't worry, dude. I wrote them all down. Because, like, him and I were, homies. Nice. He was my dude. And he gave me that piece of paper. And so to give you a little like a little scenario picture so you can put it in your mind, when you walk into the classroom, all the desks are facing the whiteboard. And then there's one desk in the far corner facing the opposite direction with, like, 3 walls on the side, almost like a D&D sheet that covers the whole desk. And it's like usually like the timeout desk, but it was just my teacher was just like, with the walls up, like, you could be secluded and take your tests in silence while I teach the class, no problem. I was just like, yeah, easier for me. Like, I just pull out that piece of paper and I'm like, put it against the wall. The teacher can't see it. So I put the piece of paper up, I'm looking over my shoulder like I'm, like, about to have some drugs or something. And the teacher is not paying attention. I get my answers. I put them down. I grab the notebook, or I close my notebook. I close the test sheet, hand it to my teacher. And then I go outside of his classroom in the class set, and I throw the piece of paper in the trash.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm outside his class. And so I go to my next period, and after that period's over, I walk back, because, like, how it worked was I would go at, like, point A to point B, and then kind of go back to point A for another class, but it was next to his.
Right.
And so on my way back, the teacher was like, "Oh, hey, little dude, can I talk to you for a second?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up? Mr. Smith, whatever his name is." And he's like, "Is this your paper?"
Oh, no.
And I was just like, "What's wrong with you? Like, you actually dug through trash. Are you serious?" And he's like, I noticed that this piece of paper has the exact same answers that you put down.
Oh, my God.
Is this your piece of paper that you threw away?" And in my head, I'm thinking that this guy has cameras, so of course I admit it. I should have lied. I should have. Because how could he catch me? I would have been like, prove it. But I was a kid, terrified of an adult.
Right.
And he's just like, you know what I'm going to do? And super cool for him doing this. He's like, I'm going to let you try one more time without cheating. And I'm going to give you a new test. And I remember, and this is history. I'm awful in history. I remember going in the next day, and he's like, here's your test. And I said, you can fail me. I don't know what I'm doing. Because I never paid attention in this class, ever. That was a class I fell asleep in. History was awful for me. And usually I got through every class cheating on tests, which I wouldn't recommend to kids. But
of course not. Yeah.
You do what you got to do.
Yeah. I am actually, I do have to admit that there were 2 instances actually in college where I cheated.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and see, that's a little embarrassing. Because, when you're a kid, it's like, oh, you don't know better, peer pressure. Like, I know, I was a grown man.
Is it, though?
Okay, well, let me tell you the first instance, okay? The professor left the room.
Oh, you just asked for it. He's asking for it.
Yeah, apparently. What was the class? No, it wasn't microeconomics. It had some, I don't know, whatever, some stupid garbage class that they made you waste money on.
Oh, yeah.
College is a scam. Two big dudes debunk college. That'll be one episode.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. No, and just one miscreant student just runs right up to the desk. And he's just
Stop.
like in broad daylight, and he's just like, "Oh, okay, guys, I have the answers right here."
Stop.
I kid you not. So this was the final exam, and he's just going off, reading off the answers. And in my head, I'm like, moral dilemma. I'm not actively cheating, but he is reading off all the correct answers. This is also very distracting. I can't just tune this out. What am I going to do?
Write the answers.
I'm going to write down the answers, but I'm going to fudge a couple of them.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, but the second one was an act of pure espionage. Like, it was like I had missed class. I think probably on one of the weekends we went camping. We had a test and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And part of what this professor did was, and when I say professor, by the way, like, this was a community college, okay? So, this isn't like, this isn't anything, for prerequisite classes, okay? This one I have asked for forgiveness from. Not from the teacher, I never admitted it. In fact, I never got caught. But this is what happened. After, the next class, they would go over the answers after it was graded. I'm not sure why that was being done in a college-level program, but, that was the case. So I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I'm here. And she's like, yo, can you just, like, wait outside while, we go over the answers? And I'm like, yeah. So I take out my little flip phone, open it, set it to the voice recorder, put it inside my laptop bag.
No way.
I kid you not. So I'm just sitting out there, just like, I don't have time to study. I don't have time for this. So I'm outside, I'm waiting, and when I get back in, the phone's still recording. I hit save and everything. And I think the worst part is she let me take the test home.
So you totally cheated.
I totally cheated.
Yeah, how could you not?
Yeah, that was that was like.
I mean, how could you not? I remember taking my driver's license test at home because it was like.
They let you take that at home?
Oh yeah, I want to say it was like $100 or maybe like a couple $100 so you could take it at home.
Oh shoot!
And then once you got your passing grade, it'd be like a little code you print out. You take it to the DMV and they print out your license. And I remember taking that test to stray away from cheaters. You would have a question would be prompted and you only had like a minute to answer it.
Oh wow!
And if you because like then you would be going on Google or another
Rip
website exactly. So and the other thing too is like when you took the test, it like took over your computer.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like in the future now I know how to get away from that. But when I was 17, 16, get my license, it would take over. I had no idea how to like minimize it. But my mom had a smartphone at the time, and she's next to me, and she's like, "Huh, I don't know what the answer is. Let me look it up." And like my mom helped me cheat. It was to get my driver's license. Like she's not gonna pay another $400 to do the test again.
Whoa.
I might be exaggerating, but it was in the hundreds.
It was a lot of money. Yeah, no, it was not cheap.
But you know what also about cheating is if you, and it's always a girl. I always notice it's a girl. If you're a person where you see the kid behind you is like looking over your shoulder and you're like covering your answers, you're messed up. Like, who do you think you are, better than me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, like, I understand you're smart and you pay attention, but like, I'm probably gonna make more money than you in the future because you're gonna be taking care of animals or something like that, or kids in Africa. So like, let me cheat off you. And I think anyone listening, tell your kids let them cheat off you. Don't be the cheater, but like, just let them be.
Well, I mean, I thought you were going down the route of like there was always like a little girl in the class who was the teacher's pet.
Oh yeah.
And she would always be the snitch.
Always.
Oh yeah, Miss Smith, Timmy's cheating, and you would get in trouble. Like of course, yeah, you would get in trouble. It was always the girl who was the teacher's pet. I've never had a class where it was like a dude who was the teacher's pet.
Might be in this time of age.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, 2023 is that's a school year where we should get kids in 2023 to be on the podcast with us. Talk about school with that.
I'd rather not. A second ago you were talking about bullying.
Oh yeah.
And how it's exaggerated. Like, well, I think now we live in a world where kids are too protected. They were a little protected in when we were growing up, but like now it's even worse. Like let me like talk about something. What really grinds my gears to quote Peter Griffin. Hey Lois, let me tell you what grinds my. Yeah, it's not a very good impression. I'm gonna stop right there. But dude, have you seen like videos on YouTube or maybe? Well, you don't use Instagram anymore, but like YouTube Shorts or YouTube videos. I know what you're talking about. Either the title or the content within censors out words that aren't cuss words. They'll censor words like kill murder,
Stop.
rape. Yeah. Like, and when you hear
No
people say,
way.
oh, yeah, oh, this guy unalived that guy.
Stop.
That is for real a thing. Yeah, because apparently, like, YouTube will do something. And, like, no, but you can go off and use cuss words, like actual F-bombs, S-words, and all this stuff. But, like, oh, and here's another thing. The word sexual has also been censored as well.
Oh my goodness.
You know, they'll put asterisks in, like, the E, so it's, oh, boy, they're saying that word, but they're not allowed to say it. But they can talk about overtly perverted and sexual things.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
That's just so messed up.
No, it really is. It's so contradictory, and what does it accomplish? What is the point? Like, dude, imagine a news report where they're just like, a suspect has been arrested. Suspect was accused of, like, a triple, murder, rape, suicide, dumping his body's dismembered, like, limbs over the side of the highway. And, like, the reporter goes like, oh, shoot. But doesn't say, oh, shoot. Just like, like, it doesn't get cut. Every other word is bleeped. Kill, murder, rape, it's all, like, bleeped. But, like, what's the point of that? I truly, I don't understand. What is the point if you're going to censor those words, but you're not going to censor actual profanity? Like, dude, I don't know if you've caught this, but, like, there's a lot of words that have been making it past censors on TV. Like,
oh yeah,
dude, like the S word, that's not bleeped out anymore.
No, I remember watching TV shows in general. I think, like, the only curse word I would ever hear is maybe the A word.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's all I can remember.
Yeah.
I remember if you dropped the F-bomb, you were on cable TV, which I did not have. So, like, and
but that was censored, though.
On public TV.
HBO, you could cut all you wanted, but you had to pay for HBO. Which
that was like the adult networking, quotation marks again.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I remember even Arthur, I feel like, had a cursing episode. Like, do you remember that?
They did.
Do you remember that? And it was like, was he cursing at DW or something like that, Arthur?
No, it was DW overhears this guy calling his mom, like, the B word in a store or something. Like, no, you can't have this and that. And just, like they just beep. Like, he looks at her and just calls her, I'm sure, like, the B word or something. DW's just like, oh, a new word.
Oh, yeah. In general, I mean, cursing was either, like, an adult thing, or in school it was like, you were super cool if you did it, etc.
Yeah.
But it was something, like, I would never say in front of my parents. In general, just never want to say it anyways, because at the time of age that I was growing up, that was, like, totally looked down upon. But now, I don't think you can find any popular streamer, any popular podcaster, I don't care what movie you're watching, I don't think they can go through a sentence without saying the F word. Yeah. I mean, the F word is now probably the most used noun, verb, adjective ever created. It's honestly used in all sorts of things.
It's like a Swiss
Probably
Army
not a
knife.
noun, actually. It's just a different time. School was a really different time. I know I loved elementary, middle school. High school stunk. It was just boring to me. I think it's because all my friends were in middle school, and then when I went to high school, I wasn't in their classes. And everyone I was with had, like, totally different sense of humor. Because, I was a kid who would, like, Three Stooges were funny. Like, punch a kid, fart, spit something is funny. And, like, I remember, like, seeing a kid and trying to get his attention, I'd, like, punch him in the arm, and I would probably, like, be killed that day for it.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, elementary school was a lot of fun. Middle school was, it was different. Like,
oh, see, I loved middle school. I could tell that you were against it, right? Like, you didn't like it?
Well, no, because, like, instead of, like, getting tougher in middle school, like, 6th grade, I almost got into a couple of fights. Oh, wow. Because I don't know, but, like, when puberty hit for me, the opposite happened. Like, I got super shy and, like,
weren't you the tallest kid in class?
It's probably why people targeted me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I was also really docile. I wasn't like, I don't know. So yeah, middle school was it wasn't a bad time. Like, I'm not going to be brutally honest with you, it was not a bad time. And high school just kind of was what it was. Senior year was my best year. Like, I was, like, the most confident version of me.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, man, like, it was nice. Like,
I was confident, I'd say, but I had, like, the senioritis. Where it was like day one of senior year, I was like, I'm ready to be out of school. And like, work. I mean, because I was already working in high school.
Oh, it's true.
I got a job at like 10th grade. My mom was like, you have to work when you're 16. You got to pay your car, etc. Gotcha. And I remember getting a job, and it was like once I got a job, I noticed that everything I learned in school was crap, and I would never apply any of it to the real world. I mean, my first job was Fresh Market. I mean, I guess I had
first job?
No, I had a summer job where I was a construction worker. I was working for another dude, and we were just doing demolition, and he'd pay me on the daily. But I remember my other real job where I like signed a W-2, didn't know what I was signing for. My parents told me everything. And it was at Fresh Market. It was like a grocery store. And I was just like the cleanup guy. And I would have to go to school. My school would end around like 2:40. I'd get home by 3:30 and I'd go to work from 4 till 10. Like every day.
What?
I was closing. Yeah, I had to close.
Hours?
I mean, that's not that bad. I
No,
think I only
nowadays that's not bad, but it's like a
Yeah.
high school student?
I mean, I had to work. That's not me. I was poor. I was really poor. I know you're just lying to the podcast. No, my parents made me work. You know,
Nice.
shout out to all my listeners, you know, out there working at a young age. We have no listeners.
You're making money. You can submit to our Patreon.
Oh yeah, future
that we don't
Patreon.
have
It's
yet.
only $99.99 a month, and I'm telling you, it gets you everything you want. You get the podcast probably 30 seconds earlier than the public. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, school was interesting.
It was. Yeah, dude, I definitely had senioritis, but kind of like in a different way. Like junior year, I did like I started in like a dual enrollment program, so like I did a lot of extra classes, like some night classes that it got some college credits taken care of and also knocked out some high school ones on the same
Oh, wow.
in the same vein. So, you know, in senior year, I only needed to be there for, 4 classes.
Oh, same.
5 classes or something like that. But even then, like I only really needed, I think, 2 classes, and the rest were just filler. Like I had guitar class, I had 2 computer classes where like I had been in that program, that computer like 3D modeling and like digital art, like since freshman year. So like that was the one teacher I had. His name was Mr. Fish. His name was actually Mr. Fischetti, but everybody called him Mr. Fish.
Yeah.
And for 4 years, he never got my real name right. And I would tell him to ease, like, just call me by this nickname. He'd be like, oh, okay. Every single day when he did roll call, he would just revert right back to, like,
Dude, what the heck, man?
Yeah, I know. Just like, Mr. Fish, come on, man. But
You
like.
should have called him Mr. Smith.
Oh, dude, Mr. Smith. Yeah, I should have.
Should have.
But it was a lot of fun, man. But like one of the classes that like I decided to take chemistry. I didn't need it. I don't know why I did. I was.
You didn't need it?
I did not need it.
I took chemistry. I thought that was mandatory.
No, heavens no. At least not for me at the time. I don't know, dude. But like it was. Yeah, like I tried, but like who's the demon that decided to combine mathematics and like, but instead of numbers, we're gonna use like word like letters that like chemicals and things like that. I'm just like. This blows a lot worse than math. Like, I hate this. So at some point, like, like I barely got a C in the first quarter. I barely got a C in the second quarter. And like by that time, I was just like, wash my hands of this. I'm just, forget this. I am done. Yeah. So I literally, like, I couldn't drop out of the class. So, start of quarter 3 after, after winter break, me and like 2 other buddies would have these like Stick Wars comics where we draw like little stick figure fights of our guy fighting.
How did you guys not get bullied?
For the whole class. And our teacher would be like, it's really sad that you guys just given up. It's like she'd given assignments and stuff, and I literally was like, I wouldn't do the assignment at all. Like I wouldn't turn it in or anything. Senioritis, full blown. But it was really funny because like we developed like a lot of characters.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
with
yeah,
this,
yeah.
like, and I was like, dude, I can make this into like a digital comic, and like one other guy's like, dude, do it. Because this needs to get big. I have no idea what to do after school.
Did you ever post it?
No. I still have them, though. But it's just like this one big mess of like, I vaguely remember what's going on here.
Oh, wow.
But like, I remember some of the characters that I made. Like, one serial strip we did, it was like a creator battle. So it was like me in the comic, the other dude in the comic, and like the other dude in the comic. And like, I decided to give myself like powers of like Luffy. One Piece, but he was also a Super Saiyan. So like I drew my guy with like a straw hat that was broken at the top with the Super Saiyan hair just blazing out. So I could Kamehameha, I could like Gum Pistol and like do all this ridiculous stuff. It was so much fun. Senioritis, hardcore that year. I actually snuck that guy out of school once too. Because I got out at like 5th period and I'm just like, he walked me to my car and whatever. And I was just like, yo dude, get in the back of the car. He's like, what? Just get in the back of the car. Like, we're like, I can leave. We're ditching. He's just like, he asked no questions. He's like, all right, I'm in. So he goes into my car. And like, there was like, the security lady would open the gate and let
I remember the same thing.
Oh, dude, but they would look. They would look to make sure like you don't have like some bed sheets in the back, like hiding somebody or something. So like, as a, driving by, I'm just like, my heart's pounding. I'm like, don't ask me to open the trunk. Don't ask me to open the trunk. And they never
He
did.
was in the trunk.
I put him in the trunk. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was talking to him from the back, blasting heavy metal in the front seat, and I'm just like, yeah, you can breathe, right, dude? And he's just like, yeah, man, I got a couple of minutes, like a couple minutes of air left.
Hit a speed bump. Oh gosh.
Yeah, and after I drove out and let him out.
Wow, dude.
It was, I think, in the Heron Bay Plaza. He needed to stop by the Bank of America, and I'm just imagine the employees watching like a high school student.
You just come out of your trunk.
Walk out of the trunk.
Imagine like seeing a kid just come out of your trunk and you just like, fist bump him like, all right, dude, see you later. Catch you again the same time tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, high school for me, senior year was I would go to my dual enrollment class in the morning for computer programming, which I did nothing with because college is a scam. And I then would go to high school around lunchtime, and then I would only have 4 classes to do just like you.
Nice.
But I only had government economics. Was it a science or English class? I don't even remember. I can't remember what 4 years of a core class you had to take in high school. But then the other 2 classes were basketball. So I would go do computer programming, where in computer programming, all we did was play Halo 1. Because none of us did any work. Because our teacher got pregnant, and she was out for maternity leave, so we only had a substitute.
Oh, wow.
And he was this Asian guy who, in a computer programming class, where you're meant to, program code, he typed with his 2 index fingers only. So when he would express an exam, like, you need to code like this, he would do the slow motion, tick, tack, not like your normal 8-finger go to town thing on a keyboard. So none of us took it seriously. So we all just got a ROM for Halo, played Halo 1, go to high school. Then I would eat lunch, play basketball, then play basketball again, and then go to my other last 2 classes where the first one, I'm super sweaty, just trying to dry off. And then my last class, I would fall asleep in. It was a boring year for me, honestly, my senior year.
Yeah, understandably.
And then probably the worst thing I ever did in high school, or I should say school in general, was in middle school, 7th grade, there was a teacher called Mr. Kimmel. And I can say his name because he's not alive anymore to hear this. And he was the hardest pounding teacher to grade you. And it was 7th grade, language arts, English, writing. Mm-hmm. But he would do, writing was his big thing, because in 8th grade in Florida, you'd have to take an FCAT for the writing. Oh, you remember the FCAT?
God, the FCAT.
And it was 5th grade and 8th grade, you had to write an essay. Do you remember that?
Probably.
Yeah, you had to write an essay, and the essay had to have it had to have your thesis, your first paragraph, your body, and then your conclusion. And almost every week we'd have to write an essay, and he'd give us a random prompt of what job do you want to do in the future? What want to do city class do you want to go to? Something like that. And you'd have to write a whole essay on it. And the class was an hour and a half, so we'd do an essay for 45 minutes because that was the time, and then he would grade it. And essays were graded, I don't know if you remember, but they were graded 1 through 6. 6 was the best of the best.
Oh, yeah.
And 1 was you're trash. Remember that?
I think so, yeah.
And so I would trade in my essay. I would turn it in, not trade in. I would turn in my essay. And every time, I think the highest I got was a 3. And he'd always circle my grammatical errors or how my sentences were incomplete, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these red lines all over the paper. Well, FCAT came up for 8th grade. Mm-hmm. I took it expecting to get awful grades, right? I didn't practice in 7th grade. The highest, like I said, got a 3. We do an essay every week. I never passed it. FCAT comes up, and then at a middle school, it was if you get a 6, you get a pizza party, etc. You know what I got in the middle of summer year? I got my FCAT grade back, and I got a 6. I got a perfect score.
Yo.
So I was like, oh my goodness, Mr. Kimmel, you suck. You were wrong about me. I'm better than what you ever thought I would be. So I remember freshman year, because my middle school closed out at 4 o'clock. High school went out at 2 o'clock. So at 2 o'clock, I would run to my middle school, and I remember knocking on his class, and I remember holding my FCAT in my hand, I got a 6, you were wrong about me. I knocked on his door, and it's Mr. Kimmel's room. I knock on his door, and this random substitute's there. And I'm like, man, this is the first week of middle school. How can you have a substitute already? And he's like, oh, how can I help you? And I'm like, hey, I'm a high school student, and I want to talk to Mr. Kimmel. Is he around? And I remember him looking back at his classroom, looking at me with this stunned face, and he's like, can we talk outside? And he closed his door, and he's like, Mr. Kimmel passed away. And he's telling me this is gonna hurt me. And I remember my reaction was oh, where's his grave so I could put my paper on it and show that I was right. It was awful of me, dude, but I could not imagine it.
Oh my god.
And it was so sad. The more I thought about it, it was like his wife left him, his like best friend who was a dog died, and like none of his family lived. So super sad story, but I made it terribly worse because high schoolers, middle schoolers, or you guys are all terrible people. And we all know it. Yeah, that was something else, dude.
Wow. Yeah, that's you know what? I had a feling the story was going down that route.
Oh yeah. I mean, like,
It's like,
you should have seen
oh,
this
shoot.
teacher's face. Like he's just talking in his class. Cause were you in middle school and a high schooler would come in to see his favorite teacher,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you would look at that kid like, wow, you're the coolest kid I've ever met because
Yeah.
like my teacher respects you. And I was like, I can't wait to be this kid. And here he's dying away from me. Can't believe it.
Yeah. I you know, for a second I thought it was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but you know, Mr. Smith, he passed away, and you're just like,
No, I think I was genuinely more upset because like
this guy died knowing I was a freaking loser.
Yeah, exactly. Am I wrong to think like that?
I think it's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was school in Florida.
Yeah, like it's a pretty magical place. FCATs and all that junk. I just completely put all of that out of mind. I think it was like 10th grade when you stopped doing it or something like that.
I don't remember. I know that once I got to high school, it was all about finals, and I don't remember FCATs after that.
Yeah.
It was like every class had a final, and like if your teacher was super cool, your final would be like the easiest class, like the easiest test in the world. And then you have some teachers who'd be like, I know you got 100% in my class, but if you fail my final, you fail the class. And it's like, why? Why did I work so hard all year to know that this one test is the reason I'm going to like fail?
I don't know, man. I mean, the whole system it doesn't work. It shouldn't work the way it does anyway. All it does is teach you how to, you know, read facts and regurgitate them on a test.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, the one thing school taught me pretty well was communication skill, how to make friends, and how to make a good time of a bad situation. At least I think so.
I got you. School for me was just like I just get through the day, you know. Not that sounds bad, but it was just like one day at a time. Like I was always looking forward to the next break. Like, yeah, great, just 2 months until winter break, and then oh great, a couple more months till spring break, and then holy smokes, I cannot wait for the summer. I am so done with this.
Oh yeah, and like depression hit when summer was ending.
Oh yeah.
And you were going back to school. You were just like, your claws are on the floor as your parents are dragging you.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah, especially it was
that.
like, oh, we need to go to grocery shopping to get your school supplies.
I hated
Death
that.
knell. It was like, oh my God. Oh, this is the worst. And then you had this knot in your stomach, just 2 weeks, I gotta go back to school.
Yeah, dude, this sucks.
Yeah, just glad to be done with it. Any sort of education, you know, in that way, like I don't want to put myself in like a classroom situation again.
Oh, I
You
don't
know,
blame
it's just yeah. But yeah, that was growing up in school and just all sorts of things, man. That you know.
Yeah, I agree. It was nuts.
Yeah.
But that's the podcast, dude.
Yeah. So for all those out there that was like, man, this ain't never gonna happen. Man, this ain't never. All you dudes and dudettes out there, like,
Yo, lady dudes, I see you.
Lady,
Yo, this podcast did happen.
Dudes. It did.
Don't be Mr. Kimmel and dime me before this podcast comes out.
It was probably more likely one of us was gonna die before it went out.
Probably.
Yeah. So you got any plugs, man?
I'm making a card game still. For all you listeners, which most likely just like our friends and family already know, but in the future, when I become big and famous, I will forget about you because I will be so rich with money and I won't need you anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
So tentatively, there is a future spot for the next. We'll be auditioning for another big dude once he ditches this podcast for the Impact podcast.
Yeah, we need someone with either name of Timmy or last name Smith, and it has to be at least 205 or heavier.
Or a Timmy Smith, like that would
work.
That
too.
would sell it.
If you're Smith Timmy, don't ever show it.
Yeah, exactly. If you have two first names like that, then you probably shouldn't even be alive.
Yeah, like what's wrong with your parents?
I don't know.
You got anything to plug?
This podcast, I'm plugging it. It's called Two Big Dudes.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I've heard about it.
It's a pretty good podcast, man. It's
I've heard it's
out.
the best. I mean, I listen to podcasts all the time, and everyone's talking about Two Big Dudes.
Dude, like as they should be, you know.
Yeah, dude.
So, on a real note, Hopefully, we're gonna get this on Spotify and other like platforms. Just look for that in the future. For right now, we're just focused on getting this thing published and out there. And hey, thanks for tuning in, you guys. You dudes.
You dudes.
You dudes.
Yeah, we got to work on that.
Yeah, we do. That we do.
All right, man.
So
Clock it out. You were
Clock it
just
out.
listening to Two Big Dudes.
I'm totally cutting out the dudes part.
Oh,
It'll
yeah.
be two big.